We are live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on Facebook and on YouTube. We've got the county executive with us, Brenton Davis, and what are we on? Are we on day number 5 now?
It seems like day number 500, but, you know.
Sure does.
This is day number 5, so, I mean, it is. So kind of just to finish where we were at before the break is talking about how this is different from 2017. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, one, this is more intense, so it happened a little faster. So, I mean, it was a little harder to keep up. I think there were some challenges with different vacation schedules in certain places. I mean, you can Monday morning quarterback that kind of stuff all you want to, but, I mean, people take vacation. It's what happens. But, you know, it's the communities that prepare are the ones that respond, you know, as opposed to react. You know, and the other difference is what I did is I stepped up early here and made sure that we had the equipment. You figure out how to deal with these crises, and you bring equipment in. So, I mean, I'll just give you a kind of an example. When you see all this equipment from City of Meadville, Waterford, Greenfield, City of Corey, I mean, these are all mutual aid folks that we brought in, you know, sibling governments to help each other out, number one. But then we did a lot with the private sector. You know, I looked at the PEMA rates, and some of the, like, rates are exorbitant than what they would pay for, like, disaster, you know, like, in terms of what it would cost. So I just went in the private market. I reached out to contractors that I knew and some that I didn't, relied on the internet.
These are regular names that you see
100%.
Building roads, right?
Yep.
Lindy and so on.
And a lot of these guys. So I'll give you a total of what we got out here. So this is above and beyond. So not only do we have the most PennDOT assets probably ever in state history deployed to a region, number one.
Whoa.
So, I mean, that's there. But so this is what the county contributed to this. So we had 6 skid steers, and this was 8 o'clock this morning, so that doesn't count all the hours we've already been working today. So we had 6 skid steers, 164 hours with those 6. 13 5-yard loaders, which are the big loaders you see, 469 hours. We had 11 plow trucks, like large city plow trucks, 287 hours. 6 road graders, a total of 90 hours. 2 large backhoes, 114 hours. So that's 38 additional pieces of large equipment for a total of 1,123 hours. That was 8 o'clock this morning, and we still got a couple days to go. So, I mean, just to be able to throw what we have to. So, I mean, when you look at on par, where the recovery efforts were in 2017, it took them 12 to 14 days to start grading.
I remember we were the school was out.
It was almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, school was out, so we had a full week off. When school came back, they had to cancel school, especially in the city, because still the inner city a week and a half later was a mess in 2017.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not out of the woods here yet.
No.
I mean, it's still pretty rough. But one, the arterial highways, the interstates are open. You know, the graders are working on the secondary roads. The plows can move into the neighborhoods. You know, we've got all these folks coordinating their efforts out of our EOC, our operations center at Public Safety. You know, so we're really working hard to manage this contractor team, but also help manage the PennDOT team, because PennDOT has brought 3 different additional crews. We had equipment show up last night, graders and crews from as far as Philadelphia, almost down to the West Virginia line. I mean, this is the largest activation PennDOT's ever done, to their knowledge, in history.
Where are okay, let's start with PennDOT for a second, because it's alarming to me that East Lake Road is closed. How is that a thing?
So you have to understand what happened.
Okay, please tell me.
So, I don't know, there's a photo going around the internet of, you know, public safety folks standing in front of all the essentially all the stranded vehicles up Route 5.
Yeah.
So really a lot of our problem, and I was on a New York talk show today. I mean, we've been on a lot of national TV shows, Good Morning America, Today Show, all that stuff today. But what really happened was, and we were on a Buffalo TV show today talking about how this happened. In New York, essentially shut down and diverted traffic at the New York line in Westfield. So it forced not vacationers, but folks coming back from Thanksgiving, trying to get back to wherever they came from, you know, semi-traffic, things of that nature. It forced them to get off in Westfield, New York, and start traveling through Erie County on Route 5.
Oh, my.
Well, what happened was there's 2 semis that essentially got side by side. One got stuck. The other one tried to go around it. Well, you do the math. They both didn't make it. So now you've got 2 giant obstacles with all this snow coming down and all those cars behind it.
And this was on Friday?
This was on the day, like the main event, when they closed down 90. And so, I mean, part of our problem originated in the state of New York making the calls that they did, but it forced these people. So now, not only did you see the diversion of traffic to the north, you saw it up 431, up Station Road, all these other places. Well, again, everywhere we saw these giant pileups were generally semis, either nothing, no light in their load, from down south, don't have chains, summer tires. The trucks are geared different in the south. They're not equipped for the snow. And it caused a lot of these problems. So, I mean, luckily, we haven't seen any fatalities as a result. And there really weren't many or any that I know of car-to-car crashes. We did have one train semi-crash because it got, obviously, people have seen that video. But it backed up the traffic. Well, and all those folks got stuck there over the course of, 10, 20, 30 hours, whatever some of them were waiting to get evacuated. And then they got snowed in. You get 40 to 50 to 60 plus inches more in areas of drift.
Yeah, because that was also where it heavily
snowed. So not there. Only, and so think about that.
Jeepers.
I mean, so from both ends in many of these places, you've got obstacles that obviously, well, you can't put wings on a plow truck. Well, you put a wing on it, but you can't make it fly, right? And so that's kind of what happened. They had to take care of the recovery. So it became more of a recovery operation for people trying to save those lives, getting water in, doing the wellness checks, activating the National Guard, doing the disaster declaration.
And did the National Guard go specifically to like Route 5 and so on?
So they did. So, I mean, predominantly a lot of that recovery was done by local first responders and my public safety team. I brought my economic development team in. I brought my Veterans Affairs director in. Yeah. I mean, I brought a lot of folks in, that normally don't have anything to do with this sort of thing. But it's like, you're here to serve the people. Once I sign that disaster declaration, I'm free to just realign and do what I need to do.
Shaney said, Fairfield had 70 people?
70 people that were stranded off of I-90. They were staying at the fire hall.
So so those were two of the stations. So we had the CMA Church in Northeast, the Fairfield Fire Hall. We had a warming station in Green Township. But yeah, there was over 70 some people. We had the last 3 people actually leave last night, and it was because all the towing that took place, a couple people's cars got lost in the shuffle. So you start getting out-of-town contractors and plowers and, wreckers that come calling because the money's calling. Well, they just start hooking cars thinking they're going to get paid. Well, nobody could find this young girl's car, and I'm like, well, you're like the last person in the shelter, had no way to get home. Her and her friends couldn't get home, so we were told it was in Cochranton, of all places.
Oh, my.
So I'm calling around, did a little detective work. The state police couldn't find it. There was no record. And I actually went through the database, talking to different wreckers and, kind of getting the story of what they saw on the ground. And I ended up finding it under snow out in the TA truck stop off of I-90 late last night. Called this girl up, found your car. They gave her, the Fairfield Fire Department gave her a ride up to her car and got her back to Syracuse. But,
wow.
I mean, this is just the trials and tribulations of kind of what this is. And, you just work through these situations and manage through it. And, I mean, I think I would echo what the one gentleman that said, we're not North Carolina. You know what I mean? I do agree that people need to simmer down. I mean, you think about it. I mean, I've been on a couple sites today where people have lost everything. I just 30 minutes ago, there was a building collapse in Mill Creek. I mean, that business it lost everything.
That's that car wash, right?
The car detailing place.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, we haven't lost anybody.
Right.
And I keep telling myself, I mean, I got maybe 8 hours of sleep total from Thanksgiving to, late last night when I finally got 4 hours of sleep. But I keep telling myself, and all the people around us, like, look, we're not Asheville, North Carolina. Like, we got homes to go home to. We still got the power on. Our water's running. Your cable TV's there. Your heat's working. You got a place to call home. I mean, imagine waking up one day and your entire neighborhood's gone and there's nothing but a washed out ravine there.
Unreal.
I mean, and that's how you really got to put this into perspective. We're awful lucky, and the fact that we've prepared and we've deployed resources effectively and quickly. I mean, some might argue, okay, yeah, it takes a couple days to get into your neighborhood to plow. In the grand scheme of things, we haven't lost a single resident. There's a few buildings that maybe weren't built as great that are, starting to lose their roof structures or whatever. At the end of the day, This is just a giant inconvenience. That's what this is. And we really got to put that in perspective and be thankful. We didn't, like Maui, the wildfires of California, tornadoes. I mean, look at how bad this could be. And I mean, just be thankful. Just be thankful.
Let's get a phone call in. Hi, you are live with the county executive here on Talk Erie.
Mr. Davis, I can only give you anecdotal comments, but out in Harbor Creek, my sister lives on Spark Hill Road, and that's off of Route 5. This morning, they had a grader already scraping the side street down to the pavement. And Spark Hill Road is just a small little, maybe 5 or 6 block road off of Route 5. And I saw last night going out to the Harbor Creek Walmart looking for snow shovels. I seen these graders and these plows working on Buffalo Road, Route 20, and doing an excellent job. And friends in Mill Creek are graders are coming on those streets, but I haven't seen any of that in the city. Are you giving any equipment to the city of Erie?
Oh, so I mean, 100% yes. I mean, so they've got the mass majority of our of the resources, but also we've sent 3 different PennDOT graders with crews and trucks and graders and loaders and things of that nature. So I mean, the mass of those efforts, and some folks see that where they want to kind of contrast and compare.
Right.
Well, you got to realize I have to triage this situation based on need, right? So,
well, sir, I live on East 26th Street near Elm, and it's like a minefield.
It sure is.
Cars are bottoming out because of the ruts in the street, and you're talking a major highway within the city.
Right.
And again,
I'm going to let him finish. Thanks. I appreciate the call. Thank you. No, I mean, it's true. It is shocking.
Yeah.
Some of the main state arteries in the city are very much like the lunar surface.
But I mean, you got to think about this. Again, like I tell people, it took us 2 weeks in 2017 to even put a grader on the road.
Wow.
About 3.5 days in, we've started grading roads. 3.5 compared to 14. And I can tell you, I have 10 times the amount of equipment here in Erie County than you did during 2017, which is why we've been able to do this and get ahead of this. It is frustrating. I'm telling you, I've got 3 broken vertebrae and 9 busted ribs, I hate any of this bouncing around stuff. And that's all I've done is hit these potholes for probably 20 hours out of the day, going from site to site to site, meeting the needs, triaging, shifting equipment. But, some folks will, like to this anecdote, you have a small road in Harbor Creek that's getting graded, but you can't contrast and compare because, one, they're different municipalities. So how they allocate their resources is up to them. So I give each one equitable amounts. So say, for instance, out of all that equipment that I just listed, that doesn't count the PennDOT resources that are supposed to be there from our PennDOT district that, number one, do this full time.
Right.
The additional resources that PennDOT, those ones that I listed were just private contractors that we've hired above and beyond that equipment that has never been done before in that manner. So you look at how Harbor Creek does something, you can't compare it to the city of Erie, because that's Harbor Creek doing what they do. And they hired additional resources on top of what I sent. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of effective things, but also there's different considerations. You got to look at the conditions of the roads, on-street, off-street parking. You got to look at all the obstacles that were in place that maybe you're not seeing. The 6 cars in an intersection, the random, there's over a couple, I want to say the count's up over 300 and some odd vehicles just in the city of Erie alone.
Right.
That are an obstacle. We have hazards mapped all through the city in our GIS system at public safety. So, again, to me, it's easy to quarterback. Right. But you know what I see? I hear a lot of complaining, but I don't see a whole lot of shoveling. So it's either...
Believe me, we've been shoveling on my street.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But my point is, you got to give a little grace to these folks out here doing it. A lot of these guys, I can tell you, they're out here working 20-some hours a day. A lot of these contractors going far beyond that. I understand the frustrations, but again, not a single one of these folks control the weather. And us stepping in, this isn't even a county rule. I don't own a single road.
Right.
We stepped in as a matter of public safety to manage this most effectively, to provide additional resources so this doesn't last 2.5 weeks or whatever, like it did in 2017. You know, we've got businesses that are back open full swing today.
Yeah. We've got the county executive with us. When we come back, I want to talk about this concept of a disaster, because I don't think we've ever been there yet. You are tuned to Talk Erie.
You got some water back here?
Yes.
It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We've got County Executive Brenton Davis with us. It's his typical monthly meeting, but since we're in the middle of a snow emergency disaster, we are still under a disaster designation that you declared and that Governor Shapiro supported, right, Brent?
So that's correct. And I'll tell you, it's like the only reason we're under this disaster declaration at this point is because if you were to stop that, it would stop all the additional resources that we need to manage that. Things like the National Guard being here, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, or PEMA, all the PennDOT resources that we're getting to clear off these roads. So I mean, again, I say this is a major inconvenience for most people,
right?
And we recognize that, and we have to call it for what it is. And it's not that we don't take it seriously. This is 100% a disaster. I mean, this could have been deadly if it had been handled worse, and it still has the potential to be deadly. And that's why I tell folks, I've been saying this in the daily press conferences, on the news, on our social media. Check on your neighbors. With all this snow, look out there and see who's shoveled out and who isn't. Look at those front doors. Look at those side doors. Look for activity. If Mrs. Smith next to you, she's a little up in years, or maybe a disabled person, or whatever it is, that they've got the special needs, pick up the phone and call them. Go over there and knock on their door. Take a shovel, if you're able to. If not, call 211.
Yeah.
We're standing up these volunteer organizations, and, I understand a lot of people are at home, like we were just talking about, watching Netflix, getting a little cabin fever, getting a little stir crazy,
But they're in their home and it's heated.
You're in your home, you're heated. But you know what? Some of those folks, if you're getting stir crazy and, you feel froggy or whatever, the Salvation Army is standing up an effort. You can go to the Salvation Army Erie, PA. They got a sign-up list to help shovel. We've got crews going out. We're going out with the Community Works program tomorrow with the prison inmates to start digging out fire hydrants.
Okay.
There's just a lot of different things that can be done. So I would encourage folks, if you're able-bodied, and you got a little bit of energy, and, I would encourage all my county employees that are listening that are, off, like, go out there and find ways to contribute. Don't put yourself at risk. But I think there's a lot of things you can do, little things you can do that add up, like the fire hydrant at the corner of your street. Go out there and shovel that thing out, because you know what? It might be your house that needs it. It might be your neighbor that needs it. There's hundreds of them everywhere. So, we got to start kind of working together as a community. That's the key. Redirect that frustration to something positive, because you might be the change that saves somebody you care about on your block. Go to your mom's house. Go to your grandma's block. Take care of their fire hydrant, because they might be the one that needs it. I'm telling you, there's been issues already where there's delays, where it might have been, foreseeable, and, it's just a matter of time.
I got a minute before the news. I want to ask you, as a contractor, are you concerned about the amount of snow on some of these homes, especially the flat roofs?
Oh, absolutely. You look.
So
at,
what do you do again? As you're looking at it as a contractor,
you've got to shovel it off.
How?
There's roof rakes, there's shovels, there's different things. But I would, and this is where this can be deadly. Folks getting outside of their wheelhouse, trying to do things they shouldn't do.
Shouldn't be on a ladder.
Shouldn't be on a roof. Shouldn't be on a ladder. Leave that to the licensed, trained professionals. Because that's where you see the spinal injuries, the facial injuries, a lot of the falls that result in death, people falling, people screwing around with the gutters full of ice that come down and they're 600 pounds and whack people. That it can be deadly. That's why I said that, like, the silent killers of these disasters, that's right now. It's the complacency. That's what'll kill you. Get up there, call a professional. There's plenty of roofing contractors. You can go to my Reelect Erie County Executive Brenton Davis page on Facebook. I just did a post this afternoon for contractors to post their business. Find a reputable one and get it done.
But you got to get that snow off.
You got to get it done.
Brenton Davis, the county executive for Erie County, PA, is here on Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. 4:34. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. It's day 5 of the winter storm. We're doing our winter storm coverage here on our typical day that we would be talking to the Erie County Executive, Brenton Davis. You want to talk budget, or you just want to?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's really the.
It's not the important thing.
I mean, most people, I mean, like, again, I guess it just puts things into perspective. And I mean, I was saying this to my guys today. I said the budget was the hot topic issue of the week, and now it's not even a thought in anybody's mind.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I mean, it just goes to really show the importance of governance. You can fight over the numerical things, but all those arguments go out the window when it comes to the real world issues of governance. And that's really what's important. You know, when stuff hits the fan, who's going to deliver?
Yeah. Talk about here's another big triaxle full of snow. What are they doing with that snow? That's the city like removing giant portions or something, or
so I mean, actually,
how does this work?
We're gonna have them stockpile and I'm gonna sell it to Arizona for water. So we're gonna make some money on this.
You go.
That's economic development, man.
Put it on a train.
And that's how we're gonna market it. We have so much water in Erie County, we load it up and ship it out in dump trucks.
They're not allowed to put it in the bay, is my understanding.
No, they can't. That was years ago. They used to do that. No, generally a lot of that stuff goes to like a yard somewhere and it melts off. They stack it, and is what it is.
Right. Where are the trouble spots as far as like? I mean, are we still concerned about like Eastern? It seemed like from like Harbor Creek, Lawrence Park, all the way to Wattsburg was a tough area.
Well, I mean, so really, I mean, we had needs all the way across. I mean, so we've got PennDOT graders in Lake City.
On the west side.
Yes, we had resources in Lake City. Girard, Fairview. I mean, they've got a pretty decent fleet, and they kept up with it. There wasn't many needs there. Mill Creek got hammered. A lot of overwhelming things. The Mill Creek, obviously the city of Erie, with the different challenges that they face. Harbor Creek, Lawrence Park, and Wesleyville. We've got graders and plow trucks and skid steers and teams of different things in both of those areas. And then on out clear into Northeast Borough. I mean, I had the city of Corey come up and plow all of Northeast Borough. Northeast Township, I think they did a pretty good job keeping up with what they had, but there was still a lot of stuff, additional resources, big snow blowers that we brought in from other areas of the state and from New York to help out along Route 20 clear through the main drag there.
I didn't know that they still did the snow blowing thing with the big rotators.
Yeah. A lot of times that's the only way you can get some of this stuff.
Okay.
And it all depends. I mean, like, you have the right tool for the right job, but Harbor Creek, that was really heavily hit, but I mean, we got on it early. We didn't wait. And that's the thing about local government is nobody's here to save us. And that's the one thing I've learned. Like, nobody is coming to save us. You have to prepare to self-rescue. Mm-hmm. And that 100%, I mean, you see this. You see the resilience. I mean, I can tell you, the supervisors that I've gained a lot of respect for, not that I didn't have respect for them before, but it's folks like Tim May, Steve Oler, Ryan Shunk out in Northeast, Kim Clear and Mill Creek. I can tell you when I show up to somewhere at 2 o'clock in the morning, you got Mark Januso and Justin Pacansky and all these guys out in Fairview and Mayor Peter Burton and these guys in Girard and Andy Graves in Lake City. You get all these guys where I show up. It's 2:30 in the morning. You haven't slept for 2.5 days, and you look over and you see the same kind of faces that they're just as tired as you are, and they're out there delivering for their communities. That is a testament to leadership. And I can tell you, when you look around at your elected officials and you see who's wearing a shiny, clean suit or who's not to be found and who's out here putting in work. I can tell you Senator Dan Laughlin, I've run into him a couple times. He's out in his plow truck taking care of people at no cost.
Yeah.
Taking care of his constituents. Where in the hell you ever seen that?
Yeah, he was saying, hey, if you tell me your streets, we'll talk to Mike Carroll. I mean, that was pretty remarkable in and of itself to have the Secretary of Transportation on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, he was right. I mean, him and I have been elbow to elbow for the last couple of days. We did our press conferences, and I laughed. I said to him, we're pretty much tired of seeing each other. It's time for you to go back to Harrisburg, but, I mean, looking at the leadership that we have here, you know, and I can't name all the township supervisors, but I'm just rattling off the ones that I've personally witnessed during this trial of leadership on who's present and who's not. You know, and I think the voters are smart enough to figure out who's present and who's not. You know, and you know, you look at the challenges that we faced, and I mean, here you hear this ambulance going by. You see, this is why this is so critical. You know what I mean? I guess the one thing about the budget that I will say, I mean, 2 years ago, I went to county council and said we need a disaster relief fund. We need to establish it. Let's put $100,000 up, because it's not a matter of if, when. And they told me no. And that was one of the things they shot down and voted against. Well, who's right again? I'll tell you what, an extra $300,000 would have paid for this whole shooting match. Mm-hmm. You know, and that this is the taxpayer money. You got to put it up. You have to be proactive. You know, this council and previous members of council that have fought me on these visionary ideas, we have been right every single time. Economic development, Project Resolve, Project Neptune, the Disaster Relief Fund, leveraging ARPA money. How many more times do you got to take a beating to realize that maybe you need to change this antiquated way of thinking? You know,
it's been remarkable to hear from the town. I mean, again, you said it yourself. Usually on a snow emergency, the county didn't have a role, and but I've heard it from several township officials that I had on yesterday. We're grateful for the county executive and the emergency management people at the county for, you know, supporting us in our endeavor to keep our community going.
And that, I mean, it's a team of folks. I mean, I brought in my Veterans Affairs director. I brought in my entire economic development staff, you know, the ones that council wants to cut. You know, my public information officer here putting in work. You know, it's all those things. And, you know, I see, you know, particular members of council that are kind of just more annoying than anything. You know, they want to be critical, but I can tell you they're not out here picking up a shovel. You know, our community is in crisis. There are those that do and those that talk. There are those that do and those that chatter on Facebook. Think about that. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a lesson for people. You know, you might not like me personally. You might not like my approaches to things. But I 100% guarantee you, this isn't like Florida where I see a Harris sign and we're passing your street. You know, it's not like that.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, we're here to take care of all people. You know, the city of Erie, Lower East Side, everywhere. We're going to continue keep working. And I'm telling you, anybody that we've taken to warming shelters, assisted with getting medication, assisted with getting food, taking care of their needs, shovel them out of their houses. We don't ask, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? We don't ask who you are, what you look like, who you love, where you come from. All we know is that you have a dire need, and we're coming to get you. You know, there's nobody else coming to get our community out of this, you know, and I hope this is a wake-up call. Yeah. You know, I mean, to me, I can tell you it's those elected officials that are out here absolutely slinging it for their people. You know, and that's Democrats and Republicans across the board. And I find it funny when I get other elected officials that want to text me and be like, oh, hey, so-and-so has a problem. And I kind of just chuckle and go, we'll take care of it. But, I mean, you really think to yourself, what in the hell are you doing? Mm. You know, these are your constituents, too. Are you too good to pick up a shovel? Are you too good to get in your car and go across town? I mean, the last I checked, you're as able-bodied as I am. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I'm running the rest of this. Yeah. You know, and it's not my job. Nowhere does it say I'm not in charge of a single road. But I'll tell you, it's like family. You know, if somebody's going through a struggle, a trial, a tribulation, or if one of your family members is in a fight, well, you're in a fight too. And I mean, that's the way I look at these sibling governments. I mean, yeah, I run the county, but you know, I have a respect for the cities, the mayors, the township supervisors. We're not better than them, not higher than you. You're a sibling government. We govern differently. But if you have a problem, I have a problem.
Let me ask you about the most vulnerable. And you mentioned something in your press conference today, and I've been watching. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get up to Flower, but I'm down a vehicle. Anyway,
we could have given you a ride. I'll send a guard next time.
You can send a guard, right? But you mentioned that I'm concerned about like the homeless and the community resilience center and so on that you've set up there, and that Yuma who is running that need some help, need some things donated. Can you talk about all that?
Yeah, so when we opened that a few weeks ago, just think, this wouldn't be possible had we not taken this step. What we'd be doing with these folks. Think about how all these folks would be displaced trying to figure out which shelter they need to go to tonight. Now we've got that down to one location. We started out with 17 people. Last night we had over 50.
Did you really?
So, you look at that, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to get down there. The only thing I can do is use my prison staff to plow the roads. And, we're really just stretching the resources we can and rubbing nickels to make quarters at this point. But, we're making it work. And, the volunteers, I'll tell you, they're the real heroes in this. These folks going down there, the elderly and the folks that volunteer, these churches, it's incredible. A lot of these churches, talking about what would Jesus do? Well, these folks they're walking the walk. Because they're coming out here, in the snow. This isn't a walk in the park. Mm-hmm. They're coming out in a disaster to deliver for these other folks. And the needs that I was talked to, and I talked to Kurt Craze, the Yuma director today, and he's like, it's men and women's sweatpants, underwear, socks, coats, things of that nature. If they want to donate anytime after 6 o'clock, we don't recommend you go do this now, but anybody who can get out and about 6 p.m. at the Community Resilience Center on 16th and Wallace, you can drop those off between 6 and 9 p.m., or you can go to the let me see the address.
The Yuma headquarters on the west side.
The Yuma headquarters on the west side.
Yeah.
It's there's a gray drop box. I'm trying to find the address here in a text message, but anybody that wants to donate, it's 728 West 9th Street.
Okay. So
donations in the gray drop box. This is our most vulnerable, and we're still looking to add those resources. Unfortunately, this stuff, we're in the process of building that out. That really took a sidestep here with this snow event. But the feedback has been nothing but positive.
Mm-hmm.
I've been surprised that even some of my most egregious non-supporters have even sent messages to say, hey, look, man, I don't support a lot of what you do. I don't like it, but this one's awesome. And I guess to me, I'm like, I don't know if that was a compliment or what that was, but hey, it just goes to show that you don't have to agree on everything.
Right.
But the things that you do agree on, let's pick up a shovel and work together. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about those we serve, right?
Right. Also talk about emergency response in regards to the ambulances. And again, it's the EMS thing is kind of your deal. You're getting a lot of pushback from council. Again, they're looking for a proposal. According to I don't want to attribute any more quotes. I got in trouble that last time, but they want a formulated plan. Has this snow event brought out any more of the strain on the EMS? I'm hearing stories about ambulance workers and basic EMTs, life support. They're having to walk down blocks and blocks to transport people.
So, that's another shout out. So we have the Wales and the Presque Isle Snowmobile Clubs. And this snow event seems like it's been a year long from my perspective.
Right.
But, give credit to these folks that came in. That very first night, I said, look, we need snowmobiles. So, we had those folks assisting with ambulance and EMT rescues getting to and from with these snowmobiles. These folks really stepping up, getting people off the interstates and things of that nature. So all those guys and gals that stepped up and came from all over during a storm to run their side-by-sides with tracks and their snowmobiles and things of that nature, it's an overlooked resource. So when folks say, why do you give gaming money to, snowmobile this and that? Well, this is why. Because for them to maintain these things and have it ready, it just paid dividends. Mm-hmm. And you look at and you think about, why in the heck would any council member be opposed to $2.5 million of gaming revenue money to go to support ambulances? And I find the hypocrisy just laughable. So look at it this way. If it's really about a plan, let's just go with that logic. Let's look at this logically. If it's really about having a plan, we've got 3 years of data And I'm not even asking for the funding to support the EMS authority. What I'm asking for is to support the transformative grants that we've given to keep these ambulance systems alive, to keep funding these things, paying for scholarships, paying for the 82 different individuals we put out here in the last year, paramedics, EMTAs, Bs, what have you.
You're saying that the county has used money to bring folks to be able to get their certifications.
So we've invested over 1.1 million, I believe is the number, maybe 1.5 over the last year and a half on transformation. So paying for wages, paying for the studies, paying for the consultants, paying to help get their administration. I mean, there was 5 different ambulance companies that are on the brink of bankruptcy essentially and going under. I mean, one of them was over $300 and some odd $1,000 in debt and about to go belly up in West County. We implemented a new board, got their administrative, got a new executive director, worked through all the kinks, and now they're essentially debt-free inside of a year. And that's township-led. I'm not saying you need to have an EMS authority. I mean, if you want to give $2.5 million, we've been shown that we've been able to make intelligent investments with it. You know, we need to continue to invest in EMS because you can't wait to need an ambulance and say now's the time to invest. It's too late. You know, so I mean, anybody out there, I mean, you need to be concerned. And then look at now, go take a drive from even here from, I'm about to drive out to Harbor Creek. That's probably going to take a half hour on a day like today. Imagine doing that in an ambulance.
Yeah.
And then hoping it doesn't get stuck. You know, and then manning it, and I mean the strain is just, I mean, it's redlined regular, you know, but let's stick to the logic of the plan. These same folks that want to cry about having a plan, which we do have a plan. I mean, we've got 3 years of data, we've got a study, we've got a track record with transformative grants. I can support it all. These same folks want to give $2.5 million to DEI. These same folks want to give $2.5 million to ECRA, carte blanche with no plan. So, like, is it really about a plan, or is it you just don't want Davis to have a win because you know we need ambulances? I mean, let's call this what this is. I mean, I hear people say this stuff all the time. They're like, I mean, who fights ambulances? Who in their right mind is against grandma, grandpa, your kid, or even you having an ambulance when and where you need it? This is about as apolitical as it could possibly be.
But they're accusing you of having an emotional argument with this.
What is the I mean, like 40% of the time. I mean, it's data driven.
Hold on a second. Keep going. Yeah.
So I mean, you sit there and look at it. It's data driven. When I can show you that every year since I've been in office, we have lost 10% of our volunteer ambulance companies. 10% every year. That means we have 30% less than 3 years ago. I mean, forgive me if you call that an emotional argument. I would argue that 1, A, it's logical. B, it's necessary. C, it's the responsible thing to do. And lastly, hell yes, that's an emotional argument because I don't want people to die.
Last minute with the county executive, Brenton Davis here. We still have major arteries that are closed. Route 5 is closed. When do you anticipate that reopening on the east side there?
I mean, so we're working at that full tilt. Ever since that's closed, we're working on that still. So I'm about to go out there. So hopefully,
is that a PennDOT only thing, or are you providing resources?
No. So PennDOT, that's a state road. So the state has to take care of their own roads,
right?
But there's a lot of resources. So the plan is to kind of work this like a donut, right? You have the outer of the circle, the Harbor Creek, the Mill Creek in between, and we provided triage resources to everybody. And then once the smaller municipalities are done with those resources, we're rolling them to the center. You know, the cities stepped up, Mill Creek stepped up, Harbor Creek stepped up with additional funding to continue paying these contractors above and beyond. So, I mean, to me, like I said, we've never seen a snow response as well-driven as this is. Now, I understand the frustration of some folks saying, well, I don't have a plow. Well, you live on East, 175th and, backyard or whatever. Like, those out-of-the-way places, the privacy that you enjoy in out-of-the-way places come with that sacrifice of not being a priority.
But there are places in the middle of the city in the first, second, third wards that are really brutal.
100%. But again, there's still recovery missions.
Okay.
You got to look at all these cars. Take a drive around. There's cars in snow piles. I mean, I just did a loop around town, just trying to figure out, can we effectively open the courthouse? We're probably going to do a soft open for the courts only tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha.
And, just to keep the parked cars, to keep all these employees from out of downtown, because we're not close to having cars everywhere. I mean, you look across the street, there's still cars in the snowbanks.
Yeah, there's no cars. There's no parking.
You get in a 20,000-pound snowplow or 30,000-pound snowplow going down the road. I'm gonna tell you right now, they're not real selective when that plow hits something.
So, and again, are you concerned about this next storm coming through?
No,
okay.
I mean, the lighter snow, I mean, we've got it to a point where it's manageable. It's the large, drops of snow when they're 30, 40 inches at a time, and
3 and 4 inches
6 or 8 hours. Like, you can't keep up with that. I mean, we're at the point now, we've still got a ton of contractors. Like, listen, like, we're in this fight. I mean, just because it stopped snowing, we are still 24/7 operations until this is done. We're going to start rolling those back, and we're going to get this done. Have the faith, give a little grace, and again, this isn't Asheville. This is an inconvenience. Let's keep it as it is.
The Erie County Executive, Brenton Davis, thank you for taking the time and spending it with us here at Talk Erie. Appreciate it.